Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Basscast Radio. I am your host, Brian Carter. And down below me, for you guys watching on YouTube, Bass Geek in the house. And Thomas with Fishing the DMV. Welcome, everyone, back to the show this week. Hopefully, you guys by now have had a chance to watch last week's show. Really great show. And we talked about the state of the industry, the tackle industry that is. And Mr. Robert Welch came on with us with Pittman Creek. And I guess, I don't know if you all saw the news. Pittman Creek bought someone else the other day, bought another brand, a company. So they are growing. And, it's a great episode. We kind of, Geek gave me a great title. And we it's done pretty well. But we need you to go hit it and we need you to go listen because, he really did dive into a lot of stuff that's taking place right now in the tackle industry. And it's really not all doom and gloom like we all say it is. It really isn't. I mean, it's starting to make a comeback. It's just coming back as a smaller industry. That's my opinion. I don't know what anybody else's thoughts on that. But so the tackle industry is on its way back. Check out the last episode of Basscast Radio with Mr. Robert Welch. All right, guys, tonight we got Ryan Dahl in the house. If you guys have never been to Ryan's Instagram page, you need to head on over there and check it out. I've been knowing Ryan for a while now. Smallmouth King is what I gotta say right there. Used to be a boy here called the Cinco King, and I think we got Ryan Smallmouth. So we're gonna talk about smallmouth bass fishing because it's that time of the year. The lakes and the rivers are starting to warm up. Starting's the word because it's been 50 degrees here the last couple of mornings in Central Virginia. I mean, it's June, everybody. What the hell's going on?
We're just now starting to see a warm up here. The weather has been up and down. It's water temps are on South Holston. Still, I was out there 2-3 days ago. Still 68.
Wow.
So,
do you think we're gonna get another spawn?
No, I think we're past that.
All right, just kidding.
Are you talking lakes or rivers?
Well,
Ooh.
I'd rather it stay cold, in my opinion, but
especially up here, we've gotten about 100 inches of rain. It felt like since the beginning of May, so it's been pretty crazy. Like I think we mentioned before we got started here, we have 2 events on Sunday on the Upper Potomac, which is now near my house, and it's still chocolate milk. And then we have 2 this Saturday on the Shenandoah River, which is kind of why I was late. I was doing a little pre-fishing, a little surveillance there. Shenandoah is looking pretty good. It did not get as much rain as the Upper Potomac did, so we'll see. There's actually a person, the first flooding in early May, a guy passed away, lost his life on the Monocacy trying to kayak there when the first flood hit. And then search and rescue had to rescue 2 idiots out near Frederick. I think it was a day and a half ago.
I think I saw that.
Yeah. Again, just be smart out there. I think people get out there and they think it's not that big a deal. It's a small little creek or stream, but that current, man, it's deadly. It really is.
I did see that because I follow the Fredericksburg website on social media. They're, I guess, the emergency website, and I saw that today. So, guys, be safe, please. Watch water levels. Check the. I mean, I don't know if we get 2 or 3, 4 inches of rain, just say no, okay? I mean, your life's more important than floating the river. I'll be honest. And if you're just having a good time floating the river, please be safe out there and make sure you have a life jacket on at all times. 100%. If you jump out of your kayak or your boat or your inner tube, whatever you're doing, just hanging out, that's cool. But when you're moving, please have your life jacket on the river because all it takes is one rock, one roll, and it's over. Because at least you can keep your head above where someone can hopefully help you, get you to shore, and hopefully get help. So. I was up a couple years ago. Where were we? Oh, we're in Tennessee. And we're up there where the Potomac comes together. And they were doing a swiftwater rescue up there as well. And it was a bunch of inner tubers or kayakers or something like that had gotten hung up. And here you go. Here comes the fire department up there to try to take care of them. So.
And it's funny.
It happens here every year. we have usually at least one or two people that end up passing away in our local river. And especially since the big kayak boom, you got people that are just going on the water and they're not experienced and they don't have a clue about any of the gauges or any of the flow. And it's tragic and it's sad.
I'll rephrase that. I was in West Virginia, by the way. But yeah, so like I said, we're just saying be safe. So let's move on with tonight's show, everybody. First of all, Bass Geek, what is going on in your world, my brother?
Yeah, man, you know, just the same old sort of stuff, man. Just trying to pump out the content, pumping out some videos. You know, had a little fishing video that we dropped yesterday where I took my son-in-law out to catch some smallmouth, actually, on South Holston. You know, we wasn't catching giants, but, you know, taking some people out fishing just so they can catch some fish, man. That's what it's all about.
Are Ryan and I the only ones here that have caught a smallmouth in like 6 inches of water, not like 400 feet or wherever the hell you catch them?
Oh. No, I cannot say that. The James River, this part of the James River, there are some holes, but for the most part, it's 4 feet or shallower.
I caught them shallow, you know, in like.
What's your shallow?
15 foot.
5 when they're spawning, 5. I was already catching them out. I was catching them out 25 and 30 on a big underspin last week.
It's funny. We had the show last week talking about different tackle and regions and stuff like that. This has been some of the best spinnerbait bite I've ever been on in like a couple of years with smallmouth because of all the rain and the river just being up a little bit. Huge shout out to my boy Cliff Bennett. He's got a jet boat. We've gone out a bunch of times and explored, and it's just been fun. I'm so used to dinking and dunking the tiny stuff, and to be able to get on some of these good power fish bites. And this is not the Susquehanna, mind you. I know the Susky, like it's power fishing 101, but for a lot of the other rivers, you don't always get this hard, hot, and fast power fishing bite, but it's been fun.
See, but that's why you would like it down here. Because we power fish, but so like they've been on a spinnerbait bite for probably 2-3 weeks and a swim jig bite because the shad have been spawning, right? So you know we've got. But the great thing about it is, I don't want to tell this part. Really, I don't. But these smallmouth, like you can throw a good 6-inch glide or an 8-inch glide around laydowns when it gets sunny, and you'll catch 4s and 5s out of the trees right now.
Oh,
so, you know, stuff that I really wish I hadn't said out loud just now.
It's
but,
okay.
but you know, like when I was out the other day, it was cloudy, a little bit of rain. You know, you take a 6 and 8 XD and crank those bass too. So it's power fishing. It's just deep power fishing.
Different.
All right, so move on, Thomas. Besides the mustache, Thomas, what else is new in your world, my brother?
Getting some honeydew list done. We had a fantastic live stream with Travis Eden, Kingfisher Guide Services, on Monday, talking about just high water levels in the Shenandoah. As I stated before, we have basically 4 competitions in 2 days on 2 of our big rivers in the area. And he just talked about safety. And I've been doing this for a while, and you just pick up on some neat things about like throwing an anchor and being very careful about the flow rate. And they all talked about their horror stories. This one guy that was, because we did it in front of a live audience, talked about like he almost drowned because he threw the anchor over and it just hit at the right angle and it flipped him. And when it flipped him, he got pinned between the rope and the kayak underneath the water. And he said it was a miracle he was able to get underneath of it. And then Travis talked about a trip that he had. It was like 2 years ago. He came around this quarter. And he saw this big eddy. As he float over it, he saw a leg. And he went down there with a paddle and knocked it and was able to get the guy out and resuscitate him. But it was the same thing. The water was high and the guy just threw an anchor. And what happened is all you have to do is catch the edge of that kayak. And once it augers, you're in trouble. And it's such a little thing. And he said it didn't look like the water was super scary, but it was really, really ripping. The guy didn't have a knife. He didn't have any of these little things to be able to cut himself free. So it's just devil's in the detail with some of this stuff, man.
Guys, this, and like he said right there, me and my buddy were at Knife Works down in Knox Vegas, Tennessee. And we bought a knife, and I have mine strapped to my seat 24/7. I mean, it's a knife right there I can grab anytime I need it. I don't have an anchor on my boat, but when I do hit the river, we have a drag chain. And, I know some people will do them, some people will use them, some people will not use them. I recommend it. It's great if you're going to fish while you go. And the good thing is 99% of the time it's not going to get tangled up. It's just going to kind of weave through everything. But go to Lowe's and get you a drag chain and attach it to the back of your kayak. And like I said, some of these swifter bodies of water, it can help you.
Yep.
I've got a ball and chain. Does that count? I just
yeah. And just always make sure that you understand that, and this is my personal opinion, maybe Ryan's different. The conditions you can take a big jet boat out in are not always the same conditions you can take a kayak out in. And it depends on your level of experience, but it's usually those hardcore 18-year-olds, because we were all there balls to the wall. I got my Dick's Sporting Goods special, and it's like just stay home. It's not worth your life.
So guys, we're getting in time of the year where everything's going to get crazy. The lakes are going to get busy. The rivers are going to get busy. So don't go. My life jacket was over $100. And, I know you can buy cheaper ones. I wanted something comfortable. I wanted something that kind of felt like I didn't have one on, but at the same time, I knew I had one on. So don't go cheap on it. Don't buy a $15 special or some crap like that. Get you a nice life jacket that, that's going to save you and while you're out there on the water. And I think mine's just got a bunch of other little cool things to it, but get you a great life jacket before you hit the lake or river this summer. All right, guys, Mr. Ryan Dahl, like I said, in the house. Thank you for coming on tonight. We've been trying to make this happen for a little while now, and glad we're able to do it. First of all, would you mind introducing yourself to all of our guests? And then we're going to dive into it, my friend.
Yeah, my name's, well, thanks for having me first off. My name's Ryan Dahl. I'm pretty much a smallmouth addict from Ohio. I do a lot of kayak fishing, sometimes wade or bank fishing here. Like, you can walk along the river and fish for miles. So I don't always have to take the kayak out, but I'd rather. Sometimes I'll jump on a boat with some buddies. Man, I just like to get out and do it all, really.
So what got you into the fishing bug, by the way?
I mean, honestly, like a lot of people, I fished my whole life. Grandpa and dad took me fishing when I was little. But I feel like I've been like hardcore river smallmouth for like the last 11 years, I think. And when I mean hardcore, I mean 350 days a year. I'm on the water, pretty much.
That's awesome. So, all right, guys. So, questions, man. Let's talk about this smallmouth and what makes it so exciting to you. I mean, we all love it because, I mean, they go ahead.
I didn't want to cut you off. Your question.
What makes the smallmouth so exciting for you, Ryan?
Man, number one, the fight. They fight.
Yes.
Largemouth. We got a funny saying, largemouth suck and
they're lazy.
Smallies rule, largies drool. But it's just the way they fight, the way they crush a top water, the way they look. They're just, in my eyes, are all superior to largemouth. They're way better. And then the other thing for me is the river fishing. So being on a river in a kayak and figuring out where they're at what time of year, it's just like a puzzle, and it's something that I'm completely addicted to.
Looking at, based on what I know of you, Ryan, like in the Ohio area, me being in kind of the East Coast smallmouth chain vein of the James, New River, Susky, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Is there any way you compare and contrast the rivers you fish in the Ohio, I guess would be the Lake Erie watershed, right?
We do go up there. I was actually just up in Cleveland 3 weeks ago chasing those lake run smallies, but no. So I'm down further south. So like Columbus, Dayton area, we have a lot of rivers that drain into the Ohio. So we got 2 or 3 major rivers with a lot of really good tributaries that we fish.
What are they like for the audience? Just if you could describe them to them. Would you be comparable to any of our rivers back home here in Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania?
Yeah, maybe like, so one of the main rivers that I fish. It might be like you've been on the New River, in North Carolina, where it's a lot skinnier.
Mm.
Not that wide, maybe 40 yards at most across.
Damn. Okay.
It's pretty skinny. Like, you've been on like them creeks in the Susquehanna that they fish. That's our rivers here, basically.
It sounds like the South Holston
Yeah.
River or the Monocacy, like a bunch of feeders, Maury, like places like that. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
smaller, pretty shallow. You got your holes, your 15-foot holes, but for the most part, you're looking at 0 to 7 foot.
What is access like? Is there a lot of access? Do you have to really plan out your float trips? How does that all work?
So we don't have a lot of ramps at all, especially where I fish. There's like literally 3 boat ramps in like a 50-mile radius. A lot of people. Now what we have is a lot of access points, so like bridges. You got to get creative and find your own ways in. There's also like a bike path that runs along the whole river. So you can get access to the bank and you can pull your kayak into a lot of different areas if you want. It's got to do a little work, and a lot of people aren't willing to put in that kind of work.
It kind of reminds me of the Potomac River, actually, because we have I'm going to butcher this because acronyms kill me, but I think it's the C&O Canal Towpath, and it goes from Washington, D.C. to Hancock. And so on the Maryland side, you can pretty much pick your spot to fish the river, which a lot of people don't, because you have to like do the cardio aspect, but it's a great opportunity to actually fish from the shore and find different little honey holes. Are there any kind of wonky laws when it comes to using overpasses to launch your boat? I know we have some weird, like the Jackson River, there's like the King James Law or whatever, where people own the dirt in some sections underneath the water. Is there any kind of wonky rules you guys have to deal with?
No, not really. Not that I know of. Pretty much every access point, we never hear anything about it. And you don't have like the landowners that'll complain and say they own the water, because I'm pretty sure here in Ohio, if you're floating on the water, you're good to go, as long as you don't get out and touch bottom.
Yeah, it's so dumb. What's it called? Like it has to be
navigable waterway.
Yeah. Which, as Cliff told me, if the water's high enough, anything's navigable.
Yeah, man, but we do have a lot of access, and that's what's cool. I mean, I obviously use a motor, so I do a lot of single access. I'll put in and I'll motor up 5 miles, or put in a motor up 3 miles. I mean, I just got back. I've been somewhere out of town the last 5 weekends. So I was in Virginia on May 1st on the New River, and then I went to Lake St. Clair on the kayak. And then next weekend, I went to Cleveland. The next weekend after that, I went to Lake Erie in Pennsylvania, to Presque Isle. And then just this last weekend, I was back on the New in Virginia.
Was your goal to put as many miles on your vehicle as possible in the shortest period of time?
So the funny thing is, I have like a 2001 Silverado. It's beach barrel. It's got 195,000 miles on it, and it's taken me everywhere I want to go so far.
That is awesome.
That's so cool.
So what makes you want to chase all these different bodies of water? I mean, are you fishing tournaments, or are you just exploring?
So I'll be honest with you. I get bored of fishing the river here.
Yeah, I can understand.
And the same thing, like, I've fished 50 miles, 80 miles of it, every spot, every bridge, every hole. And don't get me wrong, I'm still learning stuff to this day when I go out and finding different bites. But I like to explore, and I like the adventure, and that's why I do stuff like that. I usually go with a buddy or friends, and then last weekend I took off to the New all by myself and had a blast. Caught 96 inches one day.
Ooh.
And it was great. 7 fish over 19. Caught a big muskie. Found a couple new spots on my own, and just figured out stuff.
I've had I've had Victor Albert on, who's a local guy, and of course Creek Fishing Adventure. It's interesting that really is the last bastion frontier when it comes to fishing. Everyone talks about pressure issues and all this other stuff, but there are so many creeks, small rivers, and streams throughout the United States that just do not get touched at all. And if you're willing to put in the research, like you said, you can find fish that potentially has never seen a bait before, which is pretty incredible in 2025.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's gotten real popular here though in the area. So I'd say like 5 years ago, I used to be able to float a 5 mile float and I would never see anybody. Like not one kayak, maybe a couple people on the bank. And now it's got to the point where if you go to one of the popular areas, like you're wanting to get there at 5:30 in the morning, or there's already going to be a couple people there putting in.
Right.
So it's got.
Or you got to fish during the week.
See, and that's what I wish I could do, but got that thing called a job.
Yeah,
they're lame.
Yeah, overrated.
So Ryan, what are you looking for when you make or decide to make these trips? Is there, or when you kind of Google map it, what's Ryan looking for before he runs 2 or 3, 4, 8 hours from the house?
Well, I mean, number one, I'm going to go somewhere where I know people are catching big smallmouth for the most part. I mean, Susquehanna, New River. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, listening to Thomas and the podcast, I definitely have a trip planned for the Upper Potomac or something like that. I want to check out the James. It's just, you're not going to go somewhere where people aren't catching fish.
It's really cool how it seems like there's so many bodies of water, and I've said this for like the largemouth fishing in Virginia too. I don't know if it's just that social media has made it more prominent that all these places are doing well, or if there's something in the water, pun intended, that there's so many rivers, Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, that are just on fire right now. They're doing really, really well, and I'm all here for it. But I've always had the question like, why now is everything popping off the way it is?
I don't know. I'm thinking the fishing is good, but I also think that we're seeing more people posting about it on social media, and more people are getting out there, especially since COVID. So I think it's like shining a light on what has always been, but now everybody's getting to see it.
So it's like having a 24-hour news cycle as opposed to getting your news at 6 o'clock every day. So what section, when you're planning a trip like this, what makes you say, man, I want to go right here to this section? What are you looking for?
I mean, that just depends on time of year, summertime, fall.
Well, let's talk about June.
Time.
It's the June time of the year.
Yeah.
Summertime, I'm probably going to look for some faster water, a lot of riffles, stuff like that. You definitely don't want to be fishing in a section behind a dam that's more like a big pool, big, deep, slow area. And, I just like to go to new places. I don't really have to find something specific. I mean, I'm going to go put in at a ramp, I'm going to motor up a couple hours. And if I'm not catching nothing, I'll probably pull out and go hit another ramp. That's what I did this past weekend. I hit 3 different ramps on the river.
But you don't break down any body of water before you go.
I mean, when it comes to a river, you can do a little bit of Google Maps and check out the river, look for dams, riffles, and stuff like that. But
yeah. I mean, Google's got that.
You're not doing lake studies and navionics and stuff like that.
No. Go ahead, Thomas. You had a question, I believe.
I'm creeping on your Facebook right now on my other monitor.
My Facebook, you probably want to go to my Instagram. I don't put much on Facebook anymore.
Since you are well-traveled and been all over the place, are there any differences between a smallmouth in Ohio versus the Susky versus the new? Is it the same fish, or are there differences, not only in its behavior, but also the way it looks?
Definitely, I do think the way they look. So on the Susquehanna, they're definitely taller, bigger shoulders. They're quite a bit bigger too. I mean, we catch a lot of 20, 20 and a half inch fish here in Ohio, a few 21s.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good. But so when I was just on the new, the fish reminded me, the bigger fish that I caught, a 21 and a half and a 20 and a half, they reminded me more of a fish that I'd catch in the Susquehanna. They were taller. They had big shoulders. They weren't like a skinny, lean little river rocket. They were built thick. And on our river, we have a lot of those traditional, skinny 19-inch smallmouth. But every once in a while, we'll catch one, and it looks completely different. It looks like it came out of Lake Erie.
Where can the fish in your area get their origin from? Because I know, like you have the Susquehanna fish, you have the Great Lakes style. I think there's an Ohio River strain of smallmouth, correct?
I'm not too sure about that, but a lot of the rivers we fish, they do migrate from the Ohio up into those tributaries that we fish. So,
I didn't know that. That's really cool. What one more question. So
no, you're
Yeah,
good.
go for it.
Fire away.
this is what goes through my blood is footballs and ankle deep water. Hank, I'll buy you a kayak, I promise. When it comes to forage, like the new river, it's got those Godzilla-sized crayfish. The Susky's got a lot of shiners and stuff. What is the primary forage in a lot of these creeks and rivers that you primarily fish?
So we got obviously a lot of crawdad, crayfish, whatever you want to call them. And then we got a boatload of shiners, 3 to 6 inch shiners, schools of them. And then we also have shad, but not a lot of shad. You're not gonna find a giant school of shad unless you're in the fall time. But we do have big 3, 4, 5, 6 inch shad.
Oh, wow.
And then another thing that so this has just happened the last couple years, but a lot of the big fish that we catch in the fast water, they're throwing up 5, 6, 7 inch darters, like a log perch darter. And I'm thinking, so this happened to me a lot this spring. Any of them big 19, 20 inch fish that we catch, they're throwing up them big log perch. So our river, I guess, I haven't been fishing it for 30 years, but I guess the water quality was pretty poor back in the day. So them darters are definitely a good sign of really good river quality, but they feed on those a lot. And any of them riffles with the shallow, fast water, they are completely loaded with darters.
It's so interesting, at least from what I've done on my channel, and I've talked to so many old school river rats across so many rivers, and I really believe that the smallmouth in a river system is so much more opportunistic. It'll purposely feed on whatever is the primary target more so. And Geek could probably talk to this about a lake where it's probably they're just going to hit alewives versus a smallmouth that's like, okay, it's Mad Toms today. Okay, now it's brood X. Okay, now it's this larvae. It's so interesting how this fish that can get 22 inches, 80 pounds or whatever, like massive fish, will eat a peanut. And it'll focus on that, knowing like, okay, this is the primary food that's hot right now. It's just, to me, it's so fascinating. The stupid little fish has that kind of intelligence to always key in on what's the hot food source at the moment.
Yeah, lately, the last couple weeks that I've been out, they've been throwing up a lot of crawdads. And in the summertime, I feel like that's mainly what they're feeding on here a lot is crayfish.
That's cool.
But
That's
in the spring and the fall, it's bait fish 100%. When they're trying to bulk up and feed, that's all they're eating is bait fish.
We'll get a huge larvae hatch here. Usually in the summertime, we get really low water, late July, and you can't catch them unless you're throwing like a 1 inch micro TRD or something like that,
Right.
black. And you'll catch a 3.5, 4 pound smallmouth and it'll cough up like a ton of them. And it's just this stupid little hatch that happens. And it was fly guys that turned me on to that there's some kind of bug up on the upper part of the Potomac that they key in on. And again, just reiterate, it just blows my mind that they can get that hyper focused on something.
Yeah, that's something that we experienced on the Susky last year with my buddies that are here. We were on the river with one of my buddies that has a jet boat, and right before dark, you started seeing these little boils everywhere, and it was fish busting, and there was a bug hatch. And we sat there and, we threw the gizmo, but we probably caught 100 fish doing that in 20 minutes right before dark, and they just went ballistic on the little bugs. I don't know exactly what they were. I'm not not really versed in that area, but
Yeah, Friday was the first time that I'd seen the mayflies, and they were a lot. And a lot of times, what we do there is you can catch some, but the smaller bass are going to be up shallower. But what you're looking for is those bluegill feeders. So you're throwing something that's going to really mimic a little bit bigger. That's where you're going to catch your bigger bass at. Is just a little bit off of where that's happening.
Do you think like a fly fisherman trying to really match the mayfly or any kind of hatch, do you think they could have success? Like how many bass actually key in on the bugs themselves in the lakes, you think?
And it's different I guess it'd be different. Every lake's kind of different, but the ones that I fish, especially if I'm targeting, you'll get some of the average size that are going to target the actual flies, and I think fly fishermen have pretty decent success doing it. But I think if you're really going to focus, you're going to find and catch the bigger ones. You're going to focus on those areas where it's the bait fish themselves feeding on those, or the bass fry that have gathered around there and feeding on those, or those young bass that are feeding on those. And you're gonna target that sort of stuff.
It's something I want to get into at some point, is the fly stuff. I hear the stories of guys just smoking people in kayaks, and you see them waiting there with a stupid fly rod, and it's like, fishing's tough, and they're like, what do you mean? I just caught like 100 inches.
No, I could really see it on a river. I could really see it on a river.
See, it's funny you say that, Aaron, because I have a couple older guys that I fish with, and I'm 43, so these guys are like in their early 50s, and they are 100% fly guys. They tie their own big articulated flies and game changers, and they literally tear it up. So I've been on multiple floats with these guys, and there was one day, and it was summertime, and I'm throwing the normal little finesse swim bait, Ned rig, a popper, and these dudes were lighting me up with the fly rods.
Yep.
So I actually was talking to one of them guys today, and I think I'm planning a trip with him in the middle of July to go to Susquehanna. But this guy's going to teach me how to fly fish, so I'm in for it.
Funny we're having this conversation because I was on the lake Friday, and it was a really high pressure day, and just getting a lot of little hits, but I just didn't feel like dragging a worm or Carolina rig around in 30 foot of water. Just did not want to do it. So went into the back of a cove, and it's just, or back of a creek, and it was just, bugs everywhere. And of course, all of a sudden, speaking of which, there was I seen on my side imaging, there's a bunch of gill beds down at about 10 15 feet, and all of a sudden we're up there, we just pull up there to film, and we're seeing all kinds of small bluegill feeding on those bugs, popping everywhere. So it's pretty interesting we're having this conversation, because it's right about that time.
Yes.
Swimmy bait time.
Yes.
So Ryan, speaking of swim baits, what's your go-to this time of year? What are you out there targeting these big bass on? What are you, what's some of your confidence baits?
So I would say my style has changed a little bit in the last couple of years. I started off with 4 spinning rods on the kayak and maybe 1 bait caster. And now when I'm going out, it's the complete opposite. A lot of times I have 3 or 4 bait casters and 1 or 2 spinning rods now. But in the summertime, number one, I'm going to have a top water for river smallmouth. And I don't, some people, I don't like throwing the plopper. So they used to kill that thing here. I can't catch a fish on it here anymore. So I'm a big fan of the little Rico, the Labina Lures Rico.
Oh yeah,
the small one. I'm a big fan of the small one. They will slurp that thing up when they won't eat anything else. And with that little white or black feather on the back, sometimes I've had a fish where I've thrown that bait out, set my rod down, and this was really cool. I set my rod down and I was talking to my buddy. And I forget what we were doing. We were just talking, and I forgot that I had made a cast. And this black Rico with a black feather is floating in the middle of the river. It was probably a minute and a half later. I'm still talking to my buddy, and we hear this big explosion and a fish jump. And I looked over at my buddy, and I'm like, dude, did you just see that? And he's like, yeah, what was that? And I looked down at my rod, and my line is just gone.
Right.
So that smallmouth came up and ate that popper. It wasn't even moving. And it reminds me of that bug bite with that little black feather. It's just like he probably came up, looked at it. I might have bumped the kayak and barely put a ripple on it or something. But so the Rico is going to be one. I'm always going to have a small finesse swim bait. We have a big cult following here in Ohio. It's called Big Joshy Swim Baits.
Yeah. I got a bunch of those.
Yeah, and in 2.75 or 3.25.
Yep.
And then I'm going to have a jackhammer tied on all the time now. And like Aaron was talking about, high water, spinnerbait, jackhammer. You're going to be having that. And then the big bait game. I've been diving big into the big swim bait. So
yeah,
I always have a big swim bait on.
Yeah, it's something I keep saying this on my show, or maybe I just suck at it. Could be that too. Is it such a Susquehanna unique thing where that big mag draft glide bait bite is consistent, mind you? Because I've caught them on the Shenandoah Potomac before. I have not put together a 5-fish limit on a glide bait on a lot of rivers. It seems like you really need to make sure you're around that caliber of fish consistently to be able to make that thing play.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, we have people here that my buddy's like big bait, ride or die, like, and he'll go out there and throw a big glide, 7, 8, 9-inch glide all day. Might only catch 2 fish. Now there was other days that we've had spring and fall where we put together a limit or we caught multiple giants on a glide bait. But the summertime here, you're probably not catching a limit on a glide bait in the summer.
Yeah, and I guess what I would add to the list, really something I've gotten into the last couple of years, just for fun, would be like the BFS stuff, especially when you get that low clear water. Right now, that is not what we have, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you do get low clear water, like the Mega Bass, like the Baby Pop, the Pop X, oh my God, that's fun. I don't even know the name of the little wake.
Karachi.
Yeah,
So,
that thing's fun.
Last weekend on the New River, and it was on Saturday. It was low pressure. A storm came in. I had 40-mile-an-hour wind gust out there on the kayak. And I caught them really good in the morning. But once the bite slowed down around 11 or 12, you know how it always does when you're out there on the river, I tied that little Karachi on and started throwing it in the deeper water in between the ledges and just started tearing them up. So that's another good little sneaky bait, especially in the summer. We throw a lot of flukes too.
Oh yeah,
it's meat and potatoes fishing. It really is.
Yeah.
Biggest thing is when you have to get the micro size. It's always a gift when they'll smoke a chatterbait or a swim jig. It's the thing with river fishing for smallies. When those conditions get to that low and clear, when you need a 8-foot, medium light rod to launch a Ned rig the size of your, fingernail, 1.5 miles to get it away. That's where you really got to get into the weeds with lighter tackle, get distance away from you. Yeah, Susky guys don't have to deal with that. They're spoiled, but I at least know in the Upper Potomac, you have to get really sissy with your equipment to fool those older fish into biting.
I mean, I've used the little micro spinner baits. I mean, I don't know if you guys seen those. I mean, they're not, but oh my goodness, that big. Just coming out of just most times tributaries, water coming out of those and throwing them up in there and catching bass. So I mean, you have to sometimes shrink the tackle up a little bit. Go with the smaller, lighter tackle, lightweight tackle. Do you kind of set up your rods and reels a little bit different fishing these smallmouth on rivers, or do you stick to your 12-pound regular braid test line? A lot of we do in the lakes, or do you kind of go down to the 3 to 5 pound test?
No, for the most part, all my spinning combos, I have 10-pound braid like Suffix 832, and then I throw a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, 7 to 10 foot leader. All my casting gear has Sniper 14-pound fluoro on it, and then my glide bait rods either 18 or 20-pound fluoro. I've always been a fan of the thin 8 or 10-pound braid so I can make a long cast. And I tried to do the whole little 8-pound test, and it doesn't make a difference, man. My brother, and this can be debatable, but my brother used to fish with me and throw straight braid, green braid, straight braid, standing right next to me, catching just as many fish in the clear water. And I'm like, so, they're eating a pink and yellow glide bait that's 8 inches long. So I just like to use like a 10-pound leader just for a little bit of abrasion resistance. It's rock.
And it makes you wonder, are we doing that because we don't want them to see it, or are we doing that so the bait has better action, so the bait falls differently? I think that honestly is the key, because if you put a 50-pound shock tuna leader on that sucker, that bait will have a different fall.
Exactly. Yeah, and the lake guys and like Bass Geek probably could talk more about that, but like they do that 5, 6, 7-pound tests on a drop shot and stuff like that.
Wintertime, not right now, but yeah, it's well, it's pretty interesting. You guys were talking about sizing down, and as you get later into the summer, those really dog days, July, early August, it's kind of funny how smallmouth how sensitive they'll get to that. And a lot of times it's not necessarily the size of the bait, but the weight of the bait. They'll pick something up I'll fish a lot of times with a 1/4 ounce, 30 and 40 feet deep, on some bass that are on a deep end of a point or something. And it's painful to detect that bite, number one. But it's just like if you throw something that's a 1/2 ounce or 3/4 ounce, they'll pick it up and spit it out so quick. As soon as they see, seems like as soon as they feel that heavy weight.
Yeah, the heavy weight.
Unlike a largemouth, it's so weird. They get so sensitive to that as you get into the warmer months.
And you have to match your gear up. I think that's what really messes people up that go to do smallmouth fishing that aren't used to it. If you're going to be using a micro TRD that's the size of your fingernail, you can't have a medium heavy rod. I mean, you can get into the sensitivity, but you can get into hook set and all that stuff where you need that thing. When you get that 1 percentile, everything has to work together to make sure that hook sticks and you don't bend it out. And you can also get the casting distance and you can feel that thing. And so there has to be some kind of credence to the line. I'd like to get someone on the show, especially somebody that was out west, to talk about that, because over in Japan and places that are, maybe it is a pressure thing where it has to be a insanely pressured fishery to where, going from 8 to 6 will get you bites. I know people here on the East Coast complain about pressure, but when I watch like some of these like Japanese and West Coast fishing videos, like that's pressure because there's like 6 fish in those places, and they've seen every bait possible. And so I don't know. It's it's interesting. Is it us doing it, or is there actually a time and place for it?
Could be
Who knows?
both.
Could be both. Could be both.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like it's just about water displacement, which is I think is a big thing when you're dealing with rivers and streams. I'm gonna say like streams for smaller rivers.
Yeah.
Those fish can feel your presence, and you can come up on them and spook them, and that's where that casting distance is so imperative. When you're getting out there in the super low water events that we're eventually going to hit. We're going to get those low water events here. And that's the problem with kayaks too, and jet boats. 100% jet boats is you bang in to hit a bunch of rocks, you're going to have to let that place settle down because, and I've said this again on my show a couple of times, a fish that's 20 inches long, smallmouth wise, on average is between 9 to 11 years old. That's an old smart fish that has seen a lot of things, and he's educated. So you really need to be, when you get into your juice, really like almost like you're pulling the flats of Florida, and you creep up on those areas.
Yeah, they're smart. Them big ones are smart, and you know, I feel like they're even smarter here. And like I feel like people get spoiled fishing the Susquehanna or the New River because obviously I just went back there. But when I came back here, I'm like, man, I don't even want to go. I don't even want to go on the river right now. It's gonna suck. But so them big ones here, I mean, a lot of people here will fish, you know, a whole year. So they fish the river the whole year. They might only catch 1 or 2 20s, or maybe none. So
That's crazy.
We got them here, but like you said, you got to work for them. And in the summertime, your best bet is to be the first one out on that water and catch them when they're slipping in the morning, or be super late, like right before dark, catch them when they're feeding. Or, you know, if you want to get real sneaky in the summer, go at night.
Oh yeah.
If you had to pick, this is my Rorschach test for every smallmouth angler. One bait, tube, Ned rig. Are you team tube? Ned rig. Okay, you're team Ned rig. Okay.
Team Ned rig. That used to be one of the main things that I always thrown. I still do. I make my buddy has a custom Ned rig mold made. It's a football, and I use that Michael Burry EWG hook. And we got 1/8 ounce, 3/16, and I just love that hook and that little football Ned. And I throw like an all black Nico Ned on it. Catch them all year long, spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
That's awesome.
I don't like that. I can't fish an open hook in the river like that on a tube. Get snagged a lot.
Especially the heavier you make it. They're going back to what Geek said. It just if you're throwing a 3 ounce jig head out there, you will lose it really quick. But if you go to almost like a weightless open hook tube, it's amazing how the more you weight it, there's a higher probability of you losing that bait. And then again, that's why, guys, I've said on my channel, when it gets really cold, like December or January, I will crank up the weight of my gear because I just don't, I'm sick of retying, honestly. I probably lose a couple of fish doing 15 to 18 pound fluoro, but hey, I'm not retying all the time. And you need that weight to keep it in those holes a little bit longer, which is kind of the weird thing. Versus the summertime, you can throw something that weighs like an eggshell out there and it'll just float down the riffles. It's almost like trout fishing, basically. So
you're totally different on the lake. In the wintertime, I'm using 6 or 8 pound fluoro, but I'm also fishing 80 feet deep for them. So,
what kind of kayak setup you running?
So I got a couple different kayaks on the river. For the most part, I'm running a New Canoe Flint with the Newport 180 Pro, and I got foot control steering. It's about time for a new kayak. I put this one through the ringer for the last 4 years. It's, you know, a New Canoe Flint is small and skinny, but with the motor, I feel like if you do the type of river fishing that we do for smallmouth, you want to have a motor on your kayak with foot control steering. It's 100% a game changer. Once you fish like that on a river, you don't want to fish any other way. I will not go fishing and paddle. ever again.
Mm,
I won't do it. Not doing it.
don't
Also
disagree
have a
there.
Hobie, 360 Hobie PA12.
Yeah.
And I take that to like Lake St. Clair, Lake Erie, and in the wintertime I'll take it out on the river. It's a bigger platform, got more room. I'm fishing usually one or two areas that I know I'm going to fish in the winter, so that's when I'll take the Hobie out.
Ryan, what do you think about the what was that, the new Bonafide? It looks like a battleship.
XR 130.
Yeah, the 130.
That thing is too big. Too big. My kayak weighs like 63 pounds, I think.
I've got
By
an
itself.
old Wilderness Systems Ride 115. I think it weighs about 70 pounds, and I do have the foot pedals, and I can rig it up to put a trolling motor on the back with that. And that's probably the only reason why I really haven't gotten rid of it, because if I do put a motor on the back, it's going to be perfect. I don't have to do anything. It's even got the lines to run the cord through, so you can control it with your feet. And yeah, if I really do get back out there, a motor will be put on the back of my kayak so I can ride up the river and then just float, pull that bad boy up and just float down. So
100%.
And that's something we really need to appreciate when we talk about the kayak versus boat thing. We've done it here on this channel, and that's really been towards, I think, the lake segment of it all. But what has really popped open the zeitgeist of smallmouth fishing has been, the companies like a Torpedo.
Yeah.
No one can really afford $100,000 rock proof or river raptor, and I think it's over $100,000 for a brand new one of those suckers. But you can put a rock guard on a motor, and all of a sudden, boom, most rivers are now accessible to you. And so now this is actually something fun, and you can hit all the little holes and stuff. And that really is because of kayaks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I love having that motor. Like, I think that's why a lot of people can relate to me, because I don't have a $75,000, $100,000 bass boat. I don't have a $80,000 truck. I just have what your average dude has, and I can go fish all these rivers and do all this stuff. And I'm not sponsored by all these companies or anything. I'm just your average day dude that loves catching smallmouth, and that's why I relate to a lot of people around here.
All right, man. It's about time to wrap this bad boy up tonight. Guys, like I said, everyone, Ryan, we really appreciate you coming on and talking smallmouth with us. I knew Thomas would love this because he's up that way. We're lucky here, where I am. We got the James River and a couple other rivers as well, the Maury. It is pretty shallow down this way, but like we were saying earlier, if you ever get a chance, even just to wade, like Ryan was talking about earlier, find a location that's got a little moving water this time of the year, and you're going to have a great time. Take your kid out there. It's pretty awesome. And this time of year, I mean, it's nice and, well, hopefully it's going to warm up pretty soon, where it's some good wading season. Usually by now we've had like 90-degree days, and I think today was 83, and it's the warmest it's been in about a month. So it's going to warm up eventually here, but hit the river, please. Ryan, do you have any tips or anything that you could leave us with smallmouth bass fishing? Tips this summer that you could leave us with?
So if you're gonna throw top water, don't throw the plopper. Grab you a small little Rico or a small little popper and throw that where everybody's been plopping the river to death, because I feel like you will definitely catch fish that don't want to eat that plopper. I went behind a couple people on the Susky and watched them go around the island, went right behind them with that popper, caught two 1975. So they love that little thing. It's just a fun bite.
All right. Before we roll out, please head on over and follow Ryan on Instagram. Like you said earlier, he's got 4270 on Instagram. Let's get him to 10,000, guys. The dude catches fish. I mean, maybe we can get him put some more video content out there to teach us a little bit more about catching these smallmouth bass. But head on over and give him a follow there. Is there anywhere else social media wise, or pretty much just Instagram for you, Ryan?
Man, it's just pretty much my Instagram or my Facebook, but I've pretty much put all my fishing stuff on Instagram now. Ryan Dahl 82.
Ryan Dahl 82. Follow the journey today. Geek Thomas, got anything before we roll out tonight?
Not really.
Really?
Speaking in code.
Just like I always say, banging and slinging, man. Go hit the channel, hit sub. Had a great May. Finally bounced back from the hack, and it is my favorite. Well, if it'll ever actually get warm, it is my favorite time of the year. It's summertime. I want to go ledge fishing. I'm ready to throw the big baits. Give me that 10XD, bitches. Yeah. I'll need shoulder surgery in a year, but it's okay.
All right, guys. As always, fishing the DMV. Make sure you head on over, follow Instagram, wherever you listen to podcasts. Bass Geek on YouTube. Just a little quick update for you, Bass Geek. Are we still growing pretty good right now? We're up to about 90,000, 94.
We are. We hit the 1,000 subscriber mark last month. We're still doing pretty good. I missed a couple of shorts this week, trying to get some stuff prepped for the family and, doing a little bit of fishing myself. But, we're still doing pretty good. It's been a good opening to June, and we got some really good videos getting ready to come out that we've got in the box, but haven't rolled out live yet. And we bought a Starlink, so we're gonna try and do some live stuff. There are two lakes that I fish. They're smaller lakes that I grew up on, and they have some of the most incredible summer topwater fishing, and they have zero cell service. so
this will be the ultimate test, Elon.
Listen, GPS doesn't even work up there most of the time. So
wow.
Yeah, listen, I listen, when you're standing there and you hit anchor lock, sometimes your anchor lock just takes off running full speed at the bank, and I mean it's ramming speed because it just thought the whole mountain moved. The lake moves because, satellite lock is, we've got a saying around here, holler where, they live in a holler where the sun never shines. I can actually take you to places where the sun never shines. That is legitimate.
Wow.
Wow. I agree. All right, guys, go ahead and end the show on that note right here. Again, guys, appreciate everyone listening. We've got a lot of great things coming up in the weeks ahead. I know next month, iCast is coming up. Bass Geek will be going this year, representing us.
Got the hotel confirmation, ready to rock.
So we're excited about that. We're going to get a big, he's going to, be in the know when he comes back and be able to give us a little bit of information about what's coming out new. But guys, before we roll out, join our Patreon today, patreon.com /Basscast Radio. Also, if you are watching on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, please make a comment. Please hit the subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us more than you can ever imagine. So please hit the subscribe button. And by the way, on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you know when the next episode of Basscast Radio comes out. We do drop an episode every Monday morning at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that is, by the way. So get ready, get loud. There's more great bass fishing coming up, more great tournaments ahead. I'm going to be traveling in the weeks ahead. I'm going north. It's time for our northern swing right here for us, and we're going to be hitting the river. So I'm going up to the Potomac, and I'm going to the James River as well. So maybe me and Thomas can hang out when I get to the Potomac. For the, I think it's the Tackle Warehouse. I'm sorry. That's the Bass Pro Shop series. I want to say it's going to be on the Potomac. Don't quote me because I'll have to look it all up because I ain't that far ahead yet. So it's a lot of traveling ahead. So Please become a Patreon member. Hit like and subscribe. It helps more than you can ever imagine. Have a great week, everyone, and we will see you all right here on Basscast Radio.